Now, I will go to see this in theaters, now that it's actually officially happening. Indiana Jones 5, the basically like the four-leaf clover of movies of like, does it exist? Will we ever actually get it?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones 5 wraps filming finally 14 years after the last Indiana Jones movie came out. Like, good grief. I'm excited cautiously about this movie. I don't hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull nearly as much as some other people, because as a movie, it's really not that bad. As an Indiana Jones movie is where you run into issues. And honestly, I think if you just chop off the final third of Indiana Jones of they're aliens and their real treasure was knowledge, I'm like, okay, just get out of here, you sappy old man.
Shut up. Yeah.
Like, if you chop that off, it's really not that bad. I will always be excited for an adventure movie, especially when it's Indiana Jones. I love half of the movies. The first and the third one, Temple of Doom exists. Thank you for creating
Yes, it
PG-13. I'm excited because this is going to sound so mean, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm excited because it's not Steven Spielberg anymore. Yes, I know Steven Spielberg did West Side Story, and I'm going to see it probably this week. I've heard phenomenal things about it. But at the same time, he did do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Maybe he's too close to this one. And also, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he had a certain bearded friend named Lucas in his ear that kind of pitched him the story with the aliens. So sometimes you need to just ignore your friends. But we're getting James Mangold this time around. Newer, fresher blood. And honestly, James Mangold doesn't produce crap, really. Like, Logan is still one of the best comic book movies of all time. Ford v Ferrari was fantastic. Walk the Line is fantastic. I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table with Indiana Jones. You got John Williams coming back. I was about to say, how can you not be excited? But I understand there's some hesitation with Harrison Ford being so old in this, that he's older in this than Sean Connery ever was in Last Crusade, and he was supposed to be Indy's dad. Now, there have been some rumors of heavy flashback scenes. If they either use flashback scenes or the de-aging stuff that they used in Mando and MCU, would you be more on board with that, Josh? Or do you think that would kind of take you out a little bit too much?
At the end of the day, I think it comes down to execution, because we can sit here and say that like the de-aging stuff in Mando is, okay. It's so hard because
I don't know if Mando's de-aging or if it's a full composite.
So the issue with being like, oh, it's really well done, but the issue is it is well done. Like they're pushing the technology pretty far. The de-aging technology can only go so far until you get into that realm of uncanny valley, and so I understand how tricky that is. With that being said, and knowing how old Harrison Ford is.
Harrison Ford.
I want to say he can't do the stunts, but then you have people like William Dafoe, who's like doing like full Batista bombs like at like 60 something years old. So
but Harrison Ford is like 75, and also his kryptonite is landing planes. So, like,
but he came out uninjured.
Harrison Ford is a tough guy, but also I would kind of mark him as injury prone. He's crashed two planes. He's had a Millennium Falcon door break his foot. I don't know how much stunt work he can do.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a good cast for this, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is like the passing of the torch movie that they kind of hoped Kingdom of the Crystal Skull would have been. And Shia LaBeouf really is not that bad in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He could have carried the franchise had he had some better writing, and also was in a better mental state at the time, because I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is when he got that DUI and was in rehab for a little bit.
Well, yeah, we can get into all of that, like where like Shia has like commented on how like Crystal Skull was like one of the
The
Crystal Skull
worst.
and the later Transformers movies he started realizing that he just like does not like doing huge budget franchise movies, and that's totally like I'm good on him for realizing that. You and I, the podcast knows that you and I are huge Shia LaBeouf stans. That is
He's our actual cannibal for life.
like I love that man. With that being said, I agree. I can totally see this being the actual passing of the torch. I don't know who.
Probably Phoebe Waller Bridge's character.
Probably. I mean, we need another female Tomb Raider since the actual
sequel's stuck in limbo somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I can't say it's not good. That's bad. That's mean. It is.
It's dull.
It's just. Yeah. It's dull. I don't know how to describe that. Yeah.
It's dull.
I'm interested to see where we go this time around. I'm kind of hoping for some fresh stuff. I will say I don't have a like emotional or nostalgic connection really to Indy, so I actually kind of enjoyed Crystal Skull. There was a lot of elements in that adventure that I had not seen or had even the concept like thrown at me really. I think I saw Ark at Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that was like my only experience with Indy until Crystal Skull. So like seeing people dragged away by giant ants was like super cool to me. And like just like you can't tell me there's not classic lines in Came to the Crystal Skull. Like you brought a knife to a gunfight, like peak, so good.
That's not from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
yes,
though.
it is.
Like they say it, but that's not where that line comes from.
I don't care. Look, as someone who's not well versed in Indy, that's where it comes from.
You don't really know your indie movies?
No, I don't know my indie movies at all. We all know this. This is a fact. Like, why are we surprised at this?
Josh likes indie movies, but not indie movies.
Exactly.
Which, speaking of indie movies, with this picture that was shared by Frank Marshall, the producer, and he's been the producer basically for all of them, got some people talking. Is Indy the name of this movie? To which I go, y'all reading way too much into this. Because a pretty big trope with Indiana Jones is always having those not Pulp Fiction, but yeah, kind of pulpy adventure titles as well. Mm-hmm. You've got Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This has to have some big elaborate name with it. That's just kind of par for the course. And going indie just sounds too hipster. Like people would know it, but I don't like this current trend that we've got of either one word titles or just reusing the title. Like, as much as I like Halloween 2018, the fact that I have to say Halloween 2018 or Scream 2022 or whatever else, of like, stop. Logan, as much as I like Logan, stop just shortening it to simplify. Like, have cool names, have cool titles. It's not a sin.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool to just call it Jones. Nah, you know what? No, I said it.
It's just short round. Dr. Jones,
yeah.
Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones. Yeah, I'm down. Like, I think at the end of the day, I'm just excited to have another adventure movie to go to. It's still a thing that I don't think we get a lot of these days. It's in a world oversaturated by movies that take themselves too seriously and Marvel films. I think it'll be a fun like break from that to have an adventure film that's genuinely an adventure movie.